Well, hi, everyone. This is the Everyday Fan Podcast, next episode, and I am your host, Gary Sparrow. Appreciate everyone tuning in and listening. This, of course, as I've said before, just conversation with everyday sports fans, just like the title says. No experts, no pundits or anything like that, just giving people an opportunity to talk about sports, their favorite teams, their favorite sports. As I've said, anybody that wants to be a guest on it, feel free to reach out to me. Love to have you. Love to talk. Of course, I'm a big Braves fan. Everybody, if you see my TikTok posts or Facebook posts, you know that. But I like talking about any sports. So, just give people an outlet to talk about whatever they'd like to. So today I'm happy to have a good friend of mine, Adam Stanfield, here with me today. How you doing, Adam?
I'm good. How are you, Gary? Good to see you. It's
Doing
been a
great,
minute.
doing great. It has been. Me and Adam go way back to our Henry
Outside
County.
of social media,
Right. We go way back to our Henry County,
outside of
Georgia
social media, yeah,
days. Yeah. And
yeah, man,
back when I was there working at the Chamber of Commerce, even before that, we actually met when I was working at the newspaper. I think you had your networking group going then.
yeah, the newspaper, yeah, yeah. That was back in like 2007, 2008 when the economy crashed, and everybody started calling saying, "I lost my job. Can you help? Can you help? Can you help?" And me and Rocky Davis had talked about putting together a group like that at one point in time, and I knew at that moment it was time to do something to start helping people.
Yeah, and it was great, and it's still going. I mean, it's kinda
It is, yeah,
transformed in some different people, but, yeah, it's still going now, so that's
yeah.
great. You did a great job with that. So
Thanks. Very,
I know back from when, we've been friends for a long time. Of course, I'm a Georgia Tech guy. You mentioned Rocky. He actually played basketball at Tech, but I know you've always been a Virginia Tech guy. So let me how did I know you're from that
yeah,
area. You went to school there, is that right?
yeah. I grew up. I was born in Maryland, Tacoma Park, and we moved to Northern Virginia in 1970, and grew up there. And 90% of my school, my high school, went to Virginia Tech, and the other 10% or so went to split between UVA and James Madison, it seems. So, yeah, spent 4 years, made it out in 4 years, and it was a great time. Beautiful country, beautiful country.
Yeah, we've actually driven through it. We actually did a road trip to the Niagara Falls one time and drove through the area, and yeah, it really is beautiful up there. So you've been that's kinda how you became a Virginia Tech football fan?
Well, yeah, I mean, even before that, I was in tune with Virginia Tech. My sister, who's 10 years older than me, she actually went to Virginia Tech in 1973, would have been her first year.
Okay.
And, she was there a little bit of a year. And then she ended up transferring back to Northern Virginia because her boyfriend was still back at home. So, anyway, I would, watch their football team. They were terrible at the time. That's when they were called the Gobblers, home of the Fighting Gobblers. And, I remember talking to her on the phone. It's like, "Hey, Vic, like this is back in the days when there was no internet, of course. And you wake up and look at the paper, the laundry list of all the games that were listed on the previous Saturday or the day before. And, down at the bottom somewhere, it always seemed to be Virginia Tech. And I was like, "Yeah, Vicky, they lost." So anyway, she wasn't a big sports fan at that particular point in time. But yeah, it was fun. They have a lot of rich history in our blood. And it was good. It was good to get in there. It was not as competitive as what it is now. I guess, all the schools are very competitive these days, but,
Right.
anyway, we were lucky to get in.
Okay. Well, good. So when you were in school there, how was the football team? Were they I know they turned things around at some point, but were they pretty good then? Were they and what I know they're in
Yeah,
the ACC now. What conference were they
they
in then?
they were Big East.
Okay.
It was the Big East Conference, yeah, and that had Syracuse, West Virginia, Pitt, Georgia Tech. No, no, not Georgia Tech.
Boston College, were they in there?
No. Austin, yeah, BC was in there, so, yeah, and it was fun, I mean, they weren't very good. They were getting better each year that we were there, and then when we graduated, it was Beamer's first year, so, we were on the cusp of all that. But, that was back when they did, like, the backyard brawls, and the backyard brawl means something different now. But, it was always like, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, or Virginia Tech, maybe Pitt at that particular point in time. But, West Virginia was the big rival, because it wasn't very far between the schools.
Right, gotcha. So back then, the Big East, I guess, they were probably a big basketball conference more than football, right?
They were known for basketball, yeah. Gentleman there, the name that always comes to mind is Bimbo Coles, if you remember that.
Yeah.
That name, or if you ever knew that name. He was one of their star players, and, they did fairly well. I mean, games were certainly fun to go to. I mean, going to the Coliseum and, packed house and, bunch of kids doing what a bunch of kids do on game night. So, I mean, that was pretty fun. So, and we enjoyed ourselves at the football games as well, so,
Gotcha. So, I know they had some really competitive teams later, like Michael Vick was there, right? And that was kinda when they kinda made a run at the national championship?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when they played Florida State, actually, I was thinking, that last year that I was in school, that would've been '87. If I'm not mistaken, that was when we went to the Peach Bowl,
Okay,
and, we played UNC, and, notable events because my dad had this Dodge Custom Cruiser van, right? And we all packed into me and, like, 8 of my friends, both my guy friends, we all packed into the van and headed down to Atlanta, which is where the game was, and, oh my god, it was bad. It was absolutely bad. It was a great trip. It was a great trip, and, things happened that we would not, speak of, but, it was definitely one for the record books. And what was interesting is, we're coming from the Big East, and, Tech wasn't very good. How we got into the bowl, I don't know. But, and certainly playing NC State, which was, I mean, they were pretty notable back then. And I can remember going into the stadium and, how everybody wears their colors, right?
right.
Well, 3/4 of the Atlanta stadium down there, whichever one it was, as well, before Mercedes Stadium, it was like NC State red. And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna be overwhelmed." But I think we ended up winning that game. So,
I
that was good.
it's funny you mentioned that. It was at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, and I'm pretty sure me and my
Yeah.
dad went to that game.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm
Interesting.
thinking
Small
'cause
world.
I know we went to a Peach Bowl game, and I'm pretty sure Virginia Tech was in it, so, yeah, I think I actually might have
Yeah.
been at that game, but, yeah, that was always fun.
Fun.
That's great, I
Yeah.
like that, I love those kinda
Good times.
stories that,
Yeah.
I got a lot of sports memories with my dad, so, yeah, those are kinda stories that I
Yeah.
enjoy. So,
Uh, yeah,
moving
but,
kinda forward.
like what you said, I mean, yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like what you said, I mean, after that, after '87, after Beamer's first year, yeah, I mean, they started really rocking and rolling. They brought in Vic, and, I mean, he was just amazing. We would still go to the game, so we still, had that experience, and just watching some of the things that he could do as an athlete was, like, phenomenal, you know? And I think, one of Beamer's talents was, of course, recruiting. And, the talent that existed in the state, both in Northern Virginia, but even more so in Norfolk and Richmond, was pretty well, and the talents of, like, Vic and later on Tyrod, they all came out of those markets. So it was good.
Yeah, and they really did get close with, when they played Florida State, and, yeah, Michael Vick was amazing in college. He was just
Yeah.
I when the Falcons drafted him first, everybody was excited, and he was good there too. It's just unfortunate the way things turned out, but,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not good, but
yeah, they'd really turned things around. That was a fun team to watch. I was actually pulling for him in that championship game, but unfortunately, Florida
yeah,
State pulled it out.
yeah.
So
Little too much.
Exactly. So, kind of moving forward now, I guess James Franklin is a new coach coming from Penn State to, Virginia Tech. Is there some excitement around that?
I think so. I still stay in touch with some of my roommates and stuff like that. And one of my roommates, his daughter ended up playing softball at Virginia Tech. And I mean, he's got like four kids, and they all but one went to Virginia Tech. So, I was able to keep closely aligned with him and them. The fact that his daughter played softball put him in an upper tier in terms of, like, communication and information and stuff like that. So, I mean, he always had the nuggets of information about what was happening up there. And, yeah, it's good, and, I think there's probably 2 camps of thought with respect to Franklin. We're excited about it. We don't care what, really anybody else says because of, the where we were in the past 2 coaches, you know?
Right.
It's kinda like, anything would be up, it will take us up. And, when you look at it, my personal opinion, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would have a problem with it, is that, I mean, the dude did great. And did a really decent job at Penn State. When he took that over, I mean, that program was in the drugs, just because of everything that was going on at that particular point in time. So the
Right.
fact that he was able to turn them around to a point where they were respectable again, kudos to him. And if he didn't win the championship, so what? Beamer never did either. There's plenty of coaches that never win win the championship, but still, you play football, you make a good product, you keep your people happy, you raise some money for the school and stuff. So, I mean, for me, that's really what it's all about. But and then you got, some of the individuals that are more familiar with him, maybe up in Pennsylvania or whatever. And I used to live in Pennsylvania, so I'm not speaking out of school. I mean, they just point to the fact that he didn't do it. And, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of people that didn't do it. So who knows? But we're
Yeah.
excited. We talk amongst ourselves, our little group, and my son and I, we have a tradition of going to the bowl games when Virginia Tech goes to the bowl. And I said, well, we really should, maybe take a game in this year. So which one do you want to do? And I think we're going sometime in October. I think we're going to go to the Georgia Tech game. So
Oh, great. Yeah, that's
yeah,
he did a really good job at Vanderbilt. He kinda turned them around. I know before he got the Penn State job. And Penn State's one of those schools,
yeah,
it's just hard, a lot of pressure, and like you said, if you don't if you're not winning championships, kinda like Alabama or, schools like that, you're not gonna last
yeah.
long, but, I think it's a really good hire for him. I really think he'll improve the team, and he brought some guys from Penn State with him, I think.
Man, that was kind of like the aha. I mean, I was kind of surprised at how many kids came with them, But, those relationships get formed between the coaching staff and the players, back when they're talking to them. And I mean, they talk to them like in, early high school and stuff, right?
Right.
So, they get familiar with each other, and then, up and learn that your coach, the guy that you chose to follow is, gone. And, what's your options? It's like, okay, do I, having played football myself and back in high school, we went through a coaching change, and it's just like it's scary stuff. It's just like, well, I kind of made a name for myself here with my team, but what's the new coach going to think? Am I going to be, back in the bottom, or whatever that is? I mean, I get it, I understand it. And yeah, there was a lot of guys that seemed to come over, and I think he's done a pretty good job, just beginning the process and recommitting to recruiting out of Virginia. I just saw somewhere where we just got some guy, some tackle, like 6'9", 350. It's like, whoa, Nelly. That's like crazy stuff. This is like an 18-year-old kid. It's like,
I know,
geez Louise.
it's crazy how big they
I
are now.
I played defensive end. Yeah, I played defensive end at 155 in high school.
You wouldn't last today.
A Bruce Smith, no. A Bruce Smith, I was not. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and And
So
that's really
anyway,
that's really important to get the right coach, and Georgia Tech went through a couple bad ones, but they got Brent Key now, which I think he's really got them on the right track, and it takes a couple years, it's hard to come in and win first year, but yeah, I think it's a great hire. When I heard about it, I thought it was a really good opportunity for him, get away from Penn State for one thing, but yeah, I think he'll
yeah,
definitely turn y'all around.
yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta look at the overall environment, and if it's good, it's good, and if it's not good, then you got to do something. So anyway, we'll see.
Yeah,
There ain't
absolutely,
no changing it now, as they say. Yeah.
absolutely. So, talking about Virginia Tech and maybe it's the Mike Vick thing. What was your favorite Virginia Tech team all the years you've been watching them?
Oh gosh, probably the national championship team. I think that was a fun game, exciting, and just watching stuff that Michael Vick was able to do. There was one team, not necessarily the team, but the game. It was several years back. It might have been 2019, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, we were playing Florida State in the opener.
Okay.
And, Florida State was supposed to, like yeah, Florida State was supposed to, like, rip us, and my wife and I were actually on a cruise, and we got to watch it, on the cruise. We got up at 3 a.m. Yeah, it was 2019 because we were in Tahiti, and the time change, really made it, awkward.
Right.
So, I talked with the captain about where I could watch the game, and I think they set us up in the bar, and, this was like 3 we had to get up at 3 a.m. to watch the game. It was crazy. But that was another fun game, so,
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's funny you said you were going to the Georgia Tech game. That's one thing me and my son have done. He's always, for I don't know how many years now, got me tickets for my birthday to a Georgia Tech game.
nice.
The last few years we were in Georgia, it was always a Tech Georgia game, but before that, we just go to a game, one of the Tech games in Atlanta, which is a lot easier to get to than Athens.
Yeah,
But the one we went to that we both remember was a Thursday night game against Virginia Tech, and I think it was about 30 degrees, and the wind was
uh,
blowing about 30 miles an hour.
yeah,
We made it to the 3rd quarter, I think, and we had to leave. It was so cold. It
yeah,
was miserable. But
yeah,
but yeah, they were playing Virginia Tech that night. I think they lost, unfortunately, but fortunately for you. But yeah, it's funny just, those memories you can think about particular games, you went to. It's just
yeah,
sports just has that feeling that, makes
yeah.
things relationships special. And
We had Similarly, we had gotten into the habit of going to the Tech UVA games, which is last year, and we had a situation one time living in Atlanta, and we just did you remember I had the company Get Set Grow, right? And,
okay,
when we just concluded the Turkey Day run, and,
right.
we threw everybody in the car, my wife, my son, my daughter, and we headed up to Virginia Tech. It was like my daughter's 19th birthday, something like some meaningful birthday, maybe it was 16, and, we spent it in the car and to go to the game, and, oh my god, it was so cold. They put in a new end zone at that particular point in time, and our seats were way up at the top. It was unprotected, and the wind was just bone chilling. It was not good. No bueno. So,
Yeah,
similar to you. Yeah.
exactly,
Well,
exactly. Those are tough ones sometimes.
but you know
Um,
what? I know we're doing a lot of talking about football, but give props to Virginia Tech's wrestling team that's like really come out.
okay.
They're supposed to be doing really, really well. A bunch of upsets, the boys are making. So anyway, basketball is having a resurgence too, and particularly the females. Like my son, he's my son went to Virginia Tech for 2 years. Because was raised in a Hokie house, so
Right.
came time for him to apply for schools, and he's like, "Well, what do you think? Should I apply?" And we're like, "Yeah, go ahead. Why not?" And like I said, I opened up with how competitive it was, and it's even more so now. And we just didn't know whether it was going to happen. But I think with being an out of stater, living in Atlanta and being an out of stater and, having me and his mom, we met the first day of college at Virginia Tech, got him in and he was there for 2 years. And, so he follows them, immensely. He can tell you stats like out the wazoo. And, we always hear about, like the Hokies that are in the NFL now, Cam Chancellor and all those other guys. So, it's kind of nice, the Edmonds brothers, you know. So it's nice to see them getting some publicity.
Oh, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, so after leaving Atlanta, y'all moved to Florida, and we talked a little bit before, kind of adopted the teams down in Tampa, huh?
Yeah. Yep. The Buccaneers. I just said my son grew up in a Hokie house, but he played football in high school there in Atlanta, and one of his idols was Mike Allstott. So we had kind of like the Bucks in our blood, prior to moving to Tampa.
Okay,
And he had a, Buccaneers room at one particular point in time up in Atlanta. So, I guess when it came down here, it was pretty much natural. And then, as I mentioned, when we were off air, my wife, just in love with Tom Brady. So when he came down there, it was like world on fire and my wife on fire and stuff like that. So, she's I'll tell a quick story. She's a cancer patient, as many as and many of our friends up in Atlanta know. And so down here, when they won the championship, most of the people do parades like in buses and stuff like that through the city. Well, they
right,
they did it on the Hillsborough River down here, which divides downtown Tampa into two different parts, or South Tampa with downtown Tampa. And so my wife was off and she made this, poster and, some special message to Tom Brady and this, that, and the other. So, it's something about like fighting, being a cancer patient and stuff like that. She was
right.
hoping that the message, one, would be seen and two would, cause him to, I guess, come over and meet her or something like that. So needless to say, that didn't happen, but she had a good time anyway. So it was fun.
That's good, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always, cities go all out for the champions, and Tampa won everything that year, right? The
Yeah.
Bucks won, the Rays
Yeah.
won,
Yeah.
the hockey team.
Yeah. That was when Tampa became Champa. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
hockey's a good sport down here. You wouldn't think it being such a hot market, but, I mean, they had a good run up until a couple years ago, and you could see it happening because the Florida Panthers, down in
right.
Sunrise, they took a couple of our dudes, we let them go, and they took them up, and you could just see them getting better and better and better every year. And then 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, they really stung us, and we haven't got back to where we were since. But maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing that, when hockey and Atlanta's tried a couple different times and can't keep a hockey team. I don't get it.
No,
Hockey's just I've been to some games in person. It's just a whole different atmosphere in person than trying to watch it on TV. It is so
yeah,
much
it's
fun.
It's amazing,
It
and,
really is.
the way that the stadiums are built these days, we have the luxury that my wife works for a bank down here, and they have a suite. So, we get to participate, in some of the games, during the suite, or in the suite, and that's pretty nice. But they have, like, a club level down here too, where it's, like, insane. It's like off the wall, food, drink, whatever. You pay for it in your ticket, but then when you get here, everything's free. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's pretty nice. I'll just say it's pretty nice.
Yeah, unfortunately, well, there's actually a hockey team. I think it's a minor league in Florence, South Carolina, not too far from us. So we're planning on trying to go to a game sometime because, yeah, they are a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't know why Atlanta just wouldn't support it enough, but
Uh,
down in Florida, they do. It's amazing.
is your team there? Does ECHL mean anything to you?
No,
East Coast Hockey League?
no, I'm not sure. It might be part of that.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I ask is because when we lived in Roanoke for 2 years, moved from Northern Virginia to Roanoke, because we knew what Roanoke offered in terms of like quality of life for our family, which we were struggling at that particular point in time. But there's not a lot to do in Roanoke, right?
Right.
But they do have a civic center, and they had an ECHL team. And oh my gosh, that was so fun. So much fun. I encourage if you have a team there, I encourage you to go. It's kind of like the movie Slapshot, um, with every game, you know? So
Okay.
very, very entertaining. It was pretty cheap at the time. We would go, we would have a great time. Kids would love it. And it was good. So
Yeah,
let me
we're
let me know,
definitely
when you go, let me know how it was.
okay, yeah, definitely, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. Well, Adam, I tell you what, it's been great talking to you. It's been great catching up.
Yeah.
What are you doing now down in Tampa? I know you changed jobs not too long
Yeah,
ago.
I'm the director of development for Ascension Living. It's part of the Ascension Healthcare family, one of the one of the largest Catholic healthcare organizations in the country, nonprofits.
Okay,
And it's a great business, big territory, doing a lot of travel these days, which is different for me. I was doing some travel here at the state, mainland Florida, when I was with the hospice agency, and but I'm enjoying it. It's touching a lot of lives, doing a lot of great stuff in communities in need. Which, as you know, from my days back in Atlanta, that's my spot. That's my jam.
absolutely. You've always been great, working for nonprofits, working for, different organizations, raising money. You just do great at that. You're a rock star there. Have you
Appreciate
have
that.
you done any have you done any karate breaking board fundraisers lately?
No, but I've got an itch to get back into it. Matter of fact, I just started doing some practicing the other day. So it's funny that you mentioned that. We had a school in my discipline that just opened up at our local shopping center. It's like less than a mile from my house, and I got so excited, about seeing them there because the other one, the next closest one was like an hour away, and I was like, "Oh, that's not going to work." But anyway, we've got some things to work through here, family wise, and maybe in the future. But
Alright, sounds good. But for people who don't know what I'm talking about, Adam did a fundraiser for the hospital foundation, I think it was. It won how many boards did you break? I forget how many it was. I was
thou
there watching, but
thousand.
it was a bunch.
Yeah, it was 1,000. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's crazy, that's
That
crazy.
was that was fun. I appreciate all the support. Well, kudos to you too. I mean, great community guy, very supportive of, initiatives like that. So, I just appreciate everything that, you've supported me with, Gary, over time. And it's good to see that you're still doing great things in the community. So keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. Well, it's great talking to you, and, we'll catch up again maybe when, football season starts, or maybe I can talk to your son sometime,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah. And we'll get you hooked up with Toby too.
okay, sounds great, sounds
All right,
great.
buddy.
If you ever travel and get around the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area, let me know. We'll hook up.
Will do. So we have a timeshare, and our timeshare has a property in Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know
if
what it's
y'all
called,
make
but
it up here, let me know.
it's in the Westgate family.
Gotcha, gotcha.
All right,
All
buddy.
right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again. We'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.